Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
I mean, top 5 band, right? Top 5 band? If I went through the whole list, I guess Zeppelin's #1. I guess, I don't know. Who do I put at #2? Kev, who do you got at #2?
I'd put the Beatles at #1.
Yeah, Beatles 1. Okay.
Zeppelin's top 5, though, for sure.
All right, good. How about the Rolling Stones? Where do you put them?
Top 10.
Top 10, not 5. All right. So who else you got? Like Van Halen, you got Bon Jovi, you got U2. Am I
I'd say the
totally off
Eagles are
on this?
definitely in there.
Yeah. Who else?
And then, I don't know. I'm like a singer-songwriter guy. So I like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I like Bruce Springsteen, unfortunately. I know you're going to have something to say about that.
No, I don't mind. I loved his music. It's just, the other stuff that, and again, if I hate Springsteen because of his politics, I can't hate his music. It's this whole back and forth. But yeah, no, you're right. You're right on a couple of those. Where do you put U2? Are you a U2 guy, or am I wrong on that?
I don't know. Not really a U2 guy.
Okay. Coldplay?
Definitely not.
Oh, God. All right. Am I missing anybody? Aerosmith?
The Who?
The Who. Who was good? Who was all right? Roger Daltrey has one of the great voices of all time. I don't know. I guess we could go through this completely, but the point is that the Eagles are in our top 10. We'll put it that way. And somebody who's not in the top 10 of mayors of all time in New York is Zohran Mamdani, who, again, this is a used car salesman, nothing more. He's now bragging about the fact that he reduced the budget deficit from $12 billion or million or whatever it was to zero because he got a bailout from New York, from Kathy Hochul. He was given money. He didn't solve anything. He didn't have any budget cuts and compromise that led to this. But here he is. Cut number 15. Go.
New York, it's executive budget season. And I'm proud to announce that our city's budget is fully balanced. This budget isn't just about numbers on a page. It determines if our libraries get funded, if a street is safe to cross, if snow is actually shoveled after a storm. And you deserve to know exactly how we got here. We inherited a $12 billion budget deficit. We are speaking about a fiscal crisis at the scale greater than the Great Recession. Was the Great Recession? Great Recession. Many said the only way out of this was slashing services and passing an austerity budget. We rejected that. After months of painstaking work, that deficit is now zero.
Oh, it's zero. What? A magic trick. Look at that. Just $12 billion just out of nowhere. And Zohran Mamdani, he solved the problem. What? This guy who has never run a bath, let alone anything in terms of running anything. Lemonade stand, an actual job, solved the problem. Okay, great. But there's a catch. And Fox News, of course, my employer, well, one of my 4 employers anyway, they kind of point out the big problems with Mamdani's argument. This is cut number 16. Go.
Victory lap for doing it. Mamdani is touting his proposed budget that wipes away the city's $12 billion deficit over the next 2 fiscal years. The mayor says it's a victory for democratic socialism because he did it without burdening working people. Critics point out New York state taxpayers and Governor Kathy Hochul did most of the heavy lifting, covering $8 billion of the city's $12 billion budget hole. The other money comes from general improvements to the city's financial management, $500 million from taxing wealthy vacation homes, and $1.6 billion from pension restructuring. Watchdogs say kicks the cost down the road to future taxpayers. Now, according to the New York Post, Post. Mamdani's budget proposal also includes hidden fees and fines like increases to ambulance transportation fees, charging people for EMS arriving at the scene, hiking tree replacement fees, and boosting profits from concessions in parks and taxi permits.
Oh, so he just didn't solve the problem, because he's a genius. Because, well, he got a lot of money from Albany, a lot from Kathy Hochul, who just wants a win. And then everything else he's raising prices on. Yeah. I would hope that there are enough people out there who are not just looking at their phones all day and watching kittens play with yarn on Instagram, that they would actually, pay attention to this stuff, because this is an absolute joke, people. And you are being played by this governor, the ultimate bait and switch. Anyway, you got to hear this. I mean, I don't even know how to unpack this exactly, but Joy Reid used to be on MSNBC primetime. Used to have big ratings. No, I'm joking. Very, very low rated, to the point where she got fired. And now she's talking about how J.D. Vance got into Yale because of affirmative action, because they wanted more white people from Ohio. You can't make this up. This is cut number 14. 14, go.
Maybe the way that J.D. Vance got into Yale is because they were tired of just letting in white men from New York, from Choate, from all the elite schools, and they wanted an Appalachian white. That's how that man got into Yale. I promise you.
That's not racist in any way, shape, or form, right? No, actually it is. And by the way, J.D. Vance graduated Ohio State in just over 2 years. In other words, like when you go to college, it takes 4 years to get a bachelor's. Well, JD did in 2. After, by the way, he went through the Marines, right? Enlisted there. After leaving a home that was completely and totally broken, his mother a drug addict, bringing all these men who she either married or dated, who beat JD. And he's like, all right, he could do 2 things: play the victim, or, I don't know, join the Marines, which he did. Then obviously got into Ohio State. Cum laude. What does that mean? He graduated with a 3.9 at least grade point average from Ohio State in half the time it takes everybody else to graduate. So then, yes, he got into Yale Law School, wrote for the Yale Review, then did obviously his movie, his book, ran for Senate, and now is the vice president of the United States. One of the great stories of all time. And Joy Reid, oh, no, actually, he got in to Yale because of white affirmative action. I mean, this is why this person was even too crazy for MSNBC. Meanwhile, Hakeem Jeffries, who, boy, this guy is desperate because he knows that there may be a pretty good chance that Republicans hold the House in 2026 November, because every time the party in power, almost every time, something like 2 times in the last 100 years, the party that's not in power usually takes back control of the House and or Senate. That may not be happening this year. And as a result, Hakeem, who, again, could be the House Speaker, is very, very angry that, oh boy, Republicans actually may hold the House. Therefore, he's done. He'll be replaced in a heartbeat. But here he goes in cut number 12. I'm sorry, let's do cut number 11, if you don't mind, Kevin, saying that, okay, let's just reform, scare quotes, every judicial branch that disagrees with Democrats by either stacking the court or term limits or replacing judges altogether. This is insane stuff. Cut number 11, go.
Period of time, we do have these structural problems that need to be addressed. We've got to, for instance, make sure we pass the John Robert Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act so we can end the era of voter suppression in the United States of America once and for all. We have to end Citizens United, dramatically reform our campaign finance laws to stop the ability of these deep-pocketed special interests to intervene. And we are going to have to explore massive judicial reform, state by state and at the federal level, and everything should be on the table as far as I'm concerned.
When you think of garbage, think of Hakeem.
Exactly. Thank you, Kevin. Meanwhile, also, Hakeem Jeffries goes full Jim Crow on redistricting in South Carolina, which again, the district that is being redistricted is currently represented by an old white guy. And the person that will probably take over after these lines are redrawn is a black woman. But she's a Republican, so she doesn't count. Anyway, this is cut number 12. Go.
A new generation of Americans have to show up, stand up, speak up, fight, get into good trouble to usher in an era of progress. We went from the progress of emancipation to the backlash of Jim Crow, the progress of the civil rights movement to the backlash of mass incarceration, the progress of electing Barack Obama to the backlash that has resulted in the elevation of Donald Trump, MAGA extremism.
South Carolina, one of my favorite states, by the way. I love Charleston. What a great city, great food. Who did they elect for Senate? The name, I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah, Tim Scott, the first black man to be a senator in the South. Oh, whoops. Meanwhile, here's Wesley Hunt, Texas, Republican, black, talking about how Jim Crow is dead, slavery is over. And this is a guy who actually has the convictions that we would want to hear and see from more. Wesley Hunt, cut number 13, go.
I'm seeing a lot of talk from my colleagues on the left, too, as we shift toward this reinvigorated talk about Jim Crow and the past of this country. And as someone who is a direct descendant of a slave, as someone whose great-great-grandfather was born on a plantation, I can assure you slavery is over. Jim Crow is dead. When I go anywhere, I don't see any white-only signs. I don't. I promise you. I am a black man that represents a white majority district in Texas. The great-great-grandson of a man born on a plantation stands before you today as a proud conservative Republican from Texas.
Jim Crow is dead. Slavery is over. Exactly. This election, these midterms, we hear it all over and over again as far as like the cliche of this is the most important election of our lifetimes. I think this is, because this is a watershed moment. You have Democrats that are literally saying that they will completely and totally overturn everything that is constitutional and normal in this country in order to have power in perpetuity. There's no question about it. And at this point, in terms of Republicans taking back a lot of seats as a result of drawing the lines the way they should be in very, very red states, doing what Democrats have done in blue states. Again, Massachusetts, Vermont, Rhode Island, Delaware, zero representation from Republicans. California, same thing in terms of Congress people, despite the fact that in most of those states that in the last presidential election, you have 40+% support for the Republican candidate, in this case, Donald Trump. So there should be some, right? But no. Anyway, that's where we are at this point. And now those are the stakes going into November, 6 months from now. This is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
.77 WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. You know, your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Here we go. I mean, ABC has a news program, not entertainment, not comedy, not satire, a news program called The View. And on The View, here's Whoopi Goldberg. She goes off on the fact that Spencer Pratt, who we've talked about a lot on this program, has the best campaign ads I have seen, like, ever. And it mocks Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, the California political machine for destroying the state and obviously Los Angeles from those wildfires. And at one point, there's one video that shows people throwing tomatoes at Karen Bass, the AI version, and Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris. And wow, Karen Bass is not happy about this at all. She's saying, this is the type of thing that could lead to violence against me. President Trump has been nearly assassinated 3 times. And you guys keep calling him Hitler and use the word fascist. And now you're worried about some AI ads mocking your response to the California wildfires is something that's dangerous all of a sudden. Well, yeah. And Whoopi Goldberg, of course, is freaked out by the whole thing. This is cut number 8. Cut number 8, go.
And when your messages are so hateful, or when you demonize people, then you do provoke people who are unstable, and you can jeopardize people's safety.
Now, this, I'm glad we're not showing it, because it stunned me. And especially when we're talking about, we have to tone down the violence. And I mean, I was kind of freaked out by what I saw, because this was more. But I mean, people are asking, are we going to?
Good. I was so freaked out by the AI ads of Spencer Pratt mocking Karen Bass. Oh, except here's Whoopi and Sunny Hostin on The View. They're literally fantasizing about which prison Trump should be sent to. This is May of 2024. And again, you can't be freaked out about AI campaign videos when you were hoping that Trump would be sent to Alcatraz or Rikers. And you say it with a smile on ABC News, mind you, cut number 9, go.
Maybe. What about Guantanamo Bay? Okay?
Yeah. Well, that'd be close to Mar-a-Lago. Melania can come and visit.
That's right. What about Supermax? Supermax would be interesting. El Chapo was in Supermax. Hey, now, he wants to be with the hip people. Come on.
Yeah.
You hear this? Supermax. Gitmo. Then eventually they said he should go to Alcatraz or Rikers. Back with more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
In the movie Private Parts, was doing an ad for a local shoe store, right? This is when he had a smaller job at some, smaller station. And he talked about how, I used to get my sneakers from this place and I really, really loved it. And, my mother would take me there when I was young. And I always loved this particular, shop. And then he gets to the point at the end of the read, because you're given a script, right, in these situations. And he says, and the grand opening is this weekend. And then he, catches himself, obviously. He's like, all right, well, I was lying to you. I never went there because it never was open until now. And I feel like a jerk. And sorry about that. And it's funny because then he gets home and he's like, oh, man, I'm really, really beat up about this. He's talking to his wife, Allison, at the time. And she says, that was the best part of the show. When you admitted that you had no idea, right, what you were talking about, you were lying, you were trying to sell something, and that made you authentic. And he's like, yeah, maybe you're right. And that was like a turning point for him, because Howard on radio in the beginning was profoundly horrible. Like, he was not good. And then he became great. And then he became an elitist, unfortunately. But I don't want to get into that part. But the movie, if you watch it, it really is incredible. As far as a guy who had no talent, worked at all these horrible stations in all these small markets, and eventually became the king of all media, as he called it, and then, screwed the pooch in terms of who Howard is now. Anyway, I'm just going to move on. Kevin, you have any thoughts on this? Because I'm sure you do.
I do think that's one of the best parts of the movie, but what just happened there with the Eagles, Joe, don't beat yourself up over it, all right?
No, I'm admitting that I'm an idiot. I realized that Joe Walsh was also part of the vocals. I always just thought it was Glenn Fry and Don Henley. But then again, right, I was not really around when the Eagles were like a thing. So I'm going to, catch myself there. And that's that. Nor were you, by the way, Kevin, right?
No, I wasn't.
28 years old or something?
I saw them. I'm 31. I saw them in 2008, and I was like, oh, this is it. They're definitely done. Lo and behold, 20 years later, they're still playing.
They're still playing, just like the Rolling Stones, right? Just like all these bands. They're in their 70s, their 80s, and they tour, but that's all they know. And that'll be on me on radio, by the way. I'll be, here, whatever age I am now, like 40 years from now, and just still be doing this because it's all I know. Anyway, all Sonny Hostin knows on The View is, celebrities, they really should speak out against conservatives. Like, that's really their goal. Not to entertain you, not to do movies, but to talk about politics, because we all love being lectured to by celebrities or something. Cut number 1, go.
You have an obligation. I think we are at a crisis point in this country. I think democracy is participatory. I think when you have a platform, that means you have an outsized voice. And when you have a platform, I think that you have a responsibility to speak up about what's going on in this country. In my view, silence is complicity.
And every minute,
we need every single ally to speak out.
Every day we get closer to an
Who goes to that show, by the way? They're always clapping. The SEALs. I mean, can somebody do a documentary on the SEALs that go to The View and talk about this stuff? Because I'd really love to understand. Wine moms, I would imagine. Meanwhile, all right, celebrities talking about politics. I'm all for it. I'm not, but Mel Gibson. Come on, Mel Gibson. Ransom. One of the great movies of all time. Everybody talks about Braveheart. I get it completely. Or the Christ movie, but I'm sorry. Watched Ransom last night. Gary Sinise is one of the best bad guys ever. Does not get enough credit for that. He was always Lieutenant Dan, but when I meet Gary Sinise, and he's at Fox often, I'll be like, dude, Ransom? Perfect. Meanwhile, here's Mel Gibson, and here's who he's supporting for Los Angeles mayor. I have a feeling Sonny Hostin will not be happy about this. Cut number 6, go.
I asked my fellow Angelinos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate?
Yes.
It's time to take back our community and our state and put the power and the privilege in the hands of competent leaders whose goals are to protect us and the way of life this nation was founded upon and promises to offer. That's all.
That's all. All right. Good job, Mel Gibson. I mean, can Spencer Pratt win? I'm not sure. In Los Angeles, where so many Republicans have fled, there's not a lot of Republican voters left.6However, I think a lot of Democrats will vote for Pratt. I think that in the end, the way it's going to go is June 2nd, they're going to have a primary. In the top 2 candidates who don't get above 50%, then move on to a November election. I say Bass gets probably like 30, Pratt gets like 28, and then the other candidate gets enough where no one gets to a majority, even close. So all that said, we're going to have Bass versus Pratt. Bass is at 25% approval in Los Angeles. But there's a machine there that tends to find a way to make sure that Democrats are elected. So we'll see what happens. I give him a 50-50 shot at this point in Los Angeles. And it just symbolically, it would be such a huge win. Like, we're in New York, who cares? I guess. But if he were to win, reality TV star, just like Trump, comes onto the scene, says, I lost my home. My parents lost my home. I'm living out of a trailer park. And I want to fix this city. I think it's a roadmap for many Republicans going forward. Just talk common sense. That's it. Call out the crazy. Say it's common sense versus chaos, and what do you choose? It's common sense versus communism. What do you choose? Go down that road, and I think that keep it binary and keep it simple. Don't go in the weeds in any way, shape, or form, and that may be the way to go. Meanwhile, you got to hear this. Marco Rubio, who again, I think, and again, people get angry at me about this. It has nothing to do with J.D. Vance. I just think if I were to choose, let's say, I'll put it this way. I am a Little League coach right now, my son's 3rd and 4th grade team. And I put together a lineup every day as far as our games. Who am I going to bat 3rd? Who am I batting 4th? Who am I batting 2nd? Who do I want to be in the position to have the most RBIs? Because RBI is everything in baseball. Forget home runs, forget batting average. RBI. What number of runs do you produce for your team? And I think in the end, Marco Rubio is my RBI guy. He's the guy who could produce the most for my team. J.D. Vance, also a very, very good hitter, can produce a lot. But I think in the end, if you have a nominee for the Republican nomination, it's Marco. He has crossover appeal that J.D. does not. All right? Yell at your radio. Say what you want. It could be Marco J.D., by the way. J.D. could be vice president for 4 years, and then, down the line, he could be president or at least a nominee. Anyway, here's Marco going off on Spain, and I think that, this is perfect. And by the way, being somebody who's Spanish, trust me, this hurts a little bit. My people, what are you doing? Marco Rubio, cut number 3, go.
Protecting our national interest in the Middle East as an example, or in Africa. And so when you have NATO partners denying you the use of those bases, when the primary reason why NATO is good for America is now being denied to us by Spain as an example, then what's the purpose of the alliance? It starts becoming they're allies when they want to be kind of. And look, to be fair, there are countries in NATO that were very helpful to us. I just singling one out, Portugal. They said yes before we even told them what the question was. Poland. So there are countries that Romania, Bulgaria, others like Spain have been atrocious, just horrifying. So I do think there's some very legitimate questions to ask about NATO, and that is, what is the purpose of being an alliance whose benefit to us is these basing rights if in a time of conflict like the one we've had with Iran, they can deny us the use of those bases? So why are we there for? Only to protect them, but not to further our national interests? This is a very legitimate question that we need to address.
Thank you. And he's right about that. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance was asked about running for president against Marco Rubio. Now, these guys are, trust me, I know this. I talk to people in the White House every day. J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, they're very, very good friends. And J.D. kind of laughed off the question about running against Rubio. In this cut number 2, go, and it's perfect.
Us who are bringing this up, a couple days ago, Trump made this statement to people in the Rose Garden. Why do you think he does that? Do you think it's a little bit of toying with you both over your succession? Why do you think he brings that up? Just number one.
Well, I just don't think it sounds like the President of the United States to have a televised competition for who would succeed him as his apprentice. I just think that's not at all what you would expect the President to do. But no, I think the President, he's always been fascinated by politics. If you talk to him, he was fascinated by politics 30 years before he ever ran for office. So I think it's natural for him to, joke around with us a little bit, to play around with the idea. But I can tell you the President is as focused as any of us on making sure we do as good of a job now for the American people.
There you go. Perfect answer. No question about it. Anyway, Kev, do I have to break or what do we got here? How long? Oh, Elias, there you are. All right, thank you. All right, so we could play something else, which I think is awesome. So let's go down here, shall we? And, I love this. Patty Murray, she is a senator from Washington State, the most liberal senator probably in the Senate. And here she is to Lee Zeldin, former gubernatorial candidate here in New York, running for governor, asking if he supports abortion in the water or something. I don't know what to make of this, but just listen to it. And even Lee Zeldin's like, what the hell are you talking about? Cut number 10, go.
Are you actually spending taxpayer dollars looking into medication abortion being in the water?
Unless they're one of the many hundreds of pharmaceuticals on the list of the contaminant candidate list, I'm not aware of the agency doing anything with that.
Do you seriously believe there's abortion in the water like some of the far-right activists are suggesting?
I have not. You just said abortion in the water?
That's what some far-right activists are saying, that they have an audience in the EPA on that absurd issue.
Yeah, I have not had a conversation with anyone at the agency as far as abortions in water.
And you're not actively pursuing it, or don't have groups of...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. See, these senators are given a list of questions that clearly they read from. They're on note cards. Their staff puts it together. She has no idea what she's asking, let alone what she's talking about. And Zeldin's like, what are you talking about? Abortion in the water. These are people that are senators, are Congress people, are elected. And again, you want to know why Lice has a higher approval rating than actual members of Congress and the Senate? Well, this is why. Because of questions like that, no question about it. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Adobe Firefly is the all-in-one creative studio with AI-powered image and video editing for today's creative process. Built for creators of every kind, Firefly helps you generate, edit, and experiment fast. Because the asks aren't getting smaller, the budgets aren't getting bigger, and the timelines, oh yeah, still tight. With all the best creative AI models in one place, Firefly brings your ideas to life. Unlock a better way to make with Adobe Firefly.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Again, I was at the barbershop today, and yes, there are barbershops still, and my guy only takes cash, which, again, a little sketchy, but that's fine. There's something going on in the back room. I don't want to go into it, but this song came on, the live version, and he goes, oh, I love this song. It never gets old. And it's right. It never gets old. Hotel California, top 5 song of all time. Meanwhile, Sam Kinison would be 72 years old today. That's amazing, isn't it? I mean, what a great comic. Obviously, back to school, he had a great cameo as a unhinged professor with Rodney Dangerfield. And this is probably his best skit because it's just so perfect on every level. Anyway, we're in the D block, it's called, the end of the show. So we play the fun stuff. And this is cut number 17, Sam Kinison, 72 years old today, if he were alive. Cut number 17, go.
I'm like anybody else on the planet. I'm very moved by world hunger. I see the same commercials, those little kids starving and very depressed. And I watch these things on TV, and I see those commercials, and I look at it, and I go, God, how cruel, to see a little kid out there, and I go, fuck, I know the film crew could give this kid a sandwich. The kid's not out there, filming a letter from home with a Betamax, huh? There's a director 5 feet away going, don't feed him yet! Get that sandwich out of here! It doesn't work unless he looks hungry!
I mean, that's great, isn't it? That voice was just perfect, and we miss Sam Kinison. Died, let's see, 1992. Boy, that feels like yesterday, but 34 years ago, only age 38. Anyway, Brett Baer, my colleague, is in China right now. Fox News shares that his crew got a ticket after cameras caught them illegally parked. There are cameras every. You think cameras are like big in New York, ubiquitous in New York? In China, oh boy, it's no joke over there. And here's Brett's report on that. Cut number 7, go.
Big Brother is watching.
There are literally cameras everywhere in Beijing. We are outside the Haidian station, and I can count at least 20 on this corner. In fact, in Beijing, they've added 1,500 cameras just this year alone. They see everything. There's nobody jaywalking here because they could get a ticket right away. In fact, our driver parked illegally for 2 minutes, and he got a message on his phone that he got a ticket for about $40 US because they saw it on the camera. Now, there are real questions what the CCP's goal is about citizen tracking and social scoring. They say it's to make everybody feel safe. These cameras are watching every minute. They're everywhere. And while they're watching us here in China, we hope you continue to watch. Special report from Beijing.
Wow. That's called a great pivot in the broadcasting world. While they're watching, we hope you're watching. Yeah, see, the guy's, he's good. Brett is very, very good. And he was on the show last week, actually, talking about his new books. So we're happy to have Brett. Before we go, here's Scott Jennings, who is a regular on this show as far as sound bites are concerned, going off on a CNN liberal about blacks being disenfranchised in Virginia. One little problem with that, as Scott points out, cut number 5, go.
My view is that states ought to decide this. A. B, regarding John's argument, I just fundamentally think that the government shouldn't be in the business of dividing us up by race. It's fundamentally racist to divide us up by race. We have African-American members of the House winning in districts across the country with plurality white populations. We are well beyond the issues.
Exactly. It's not about a black district. It's, are you the best candidate? And in places like Tennessee, for example, they're going to redraw those lines near Memphis. And guess what? There's an old white guy that represents the current district, and he will be replaced probably when the lines are redrawn by a black woman who happens to be a Republican. Hate to go all Biden on you as far as the whispering thing, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, I am Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show, Concha at Night. We're back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on WABC and on stations around the country. Until then, I got 2 words for you, and you know what they are. Bye-bye.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.